Good evening, everyone. My name is DJ Ryan J. I'm here to do a quick overview and review of the AMX. It's a new product that's come out from Akai, and it's quite the little device, and little being a pretty operative word here. As you can see, it's quite small in my hands. I've got a DJM 600 here, and you can see how small it is compared to that. And the neat thing about this particular device is that it is a full-featured Serato DJ control surface. You can play an entire show using this. It's got hardware control for play, pause, cue. There's sync buttons on here. You can browse on the screen using the big knob, and even load songs using the load buttons. You also have the ability to even do a quick double tap on the other load button will give you an instant double. So for example, if you're playing something on the one track, quick double tap on the other side gets you that instant double, which is pretty cool. It does have, as you can see, the ability to cue. You can even do a scrub with the system. When it's stopped, you can go ahead and using the search button and the browse knob, you can scrub back and forth. Now, it would take forever to get anywhere meaningful in the song this way, so you certainly don't want to be doing that for long periods. I mean, you can just take the mouse and move your cursor. It does the same thing. Set your cue point, and away you go right from there. It does stutter cue, and there's a few shift buttons here as well. You can even go all the way back to the beginning using the shift and cue button, among other things. It's got standard headphone ability to cue both sides, or one side at once, or both sides at the same time. It has a cue mix, and even here in the software, there is the ability to set the up fader curve from slow to fast if you want. You can do a master cue right here, which you, as far as I can tell, you don't really need to do unless you go all the way to, cue mix, all the way to the max. And you can set your crossfader curve in here, which there's a button on the front for. As you can see, it does that. Change it from linear to power if you like. It really depends on, there's quite a few features built right into this thing. You can set your output to mono, all of that type of thing. The device itself is, as you can see, very small. It's run by USB power only. There is a USB cable included in the box, or at least there was in the one that I bought. All of the inputs and outputs are RCA. So that means that you're probably not going to want to go too far. One of the side effects of the USB being the only power source, there is no way to plug any external power into this, is that you've got a very limited amount of actual output juice. There's kind of not a lot there. So that's why I've got sitting next to this thing a little Mackie, which I'm plugging into and will go to my main system once I actually am out playing with this thing. The other reason the Mackie is there, or any other mixer for that matter, that can accommodate this, and I could use my 600 if I wanted, really. The only other reason this thing is here is because I need a microphone input. The AMX doesn't have one, period. I have my speculations as to why that is, but it's not there. So in terms of build quality, how does this thing feel? It's actually heftier than it might look, or might feel. It is built out of plastic, but it feels pretty sturdy. The faders themselves are, the up faders are, they feel about the same as the Pioneer DDJ SX, the first version of it, but the crossfader is an inno fader, which is pretty cool. It's like butter. It's nice and smooth, and it's pretty good. The reason that might matter to somebody is because this little device actually can function as a Serato DVS mixing board with a full built-in sound card. I didn't mention before, but this thing, the version of Serato DJ that this unlocks is actually the full version, not Serato DJ Intro or anything of that nature, which is really, really good, and I was really impressed by that, especially for a piece of gear that up here in Canada retails for $250. So that's pretty excellent. Now, one of the things that they sort of gloss over is that this thing has the ability, and they make a big noise about this, has the ability to act as a DVS input, which means that you could plug turntables, and yes, there are phono inputs, or CD players into this using noise map, vinyl, or CDs, and you'd be able to actually control Serato right from this little, and use this as a mixer, akin to something like the DJM 900 SRT. That's really powerful in something so small, and it is pretty amazing. One of the things that they gloss over in all of the videos and stuff that I've seen on this is that it, while it does give you that ability, the actual DVS unlock is an additional $99 that you have to pay to Serato. So it's not Akai that gets it, it's Serato that does. I was a little disappointed in that, but what are you going to do? One thing to note is that the headphone jack on this thing is actually 3.5 millimeter, not a 1/4 inch. Not a big deal. Most headphones have the screw-off barrel adapter, so you're okay. Each channel section has a gain knob, which doesn't affect anything in the actual software itself, but does affect the output of the individual channel. And it's also got high, mids, and low EQ, and a filter sweep knob. So the filter sweep knob is pretty right on. As soon as I get there we go. So it works exactly as you'd expect for a filter sweep. Skip forward to somewhere where there's a little bit more noise going on. Very musical. Works exactly as you'd expect. One of the interesting things that they've built into this as well is there's a touch button up here, and with the touch button engaged, there's something really cool happens, and the ability to modify the sound actually is kind of neat. What it actually does is it allows you to simply at these buttons on the side, the ones with the metal knobs, i.e. treble, mid, bass, and the filter, are actually capacitive. So just by touching the knob itself, I can do a frequency kill of bass, mid, and high. I don't actually have to do it. That's using the touch function. The other thing that the touch function enables is that if the touch is enabled and I use the filter knob, it actually engages a loop roll that gets faster the more I turn the knob, and obviously engages the filter sweep at the same time. That's a pretty neat little function, and makes this piece of gear really mixable, because to me, in my opinion, the loop roll and the filter sweep are two of the most used effects to do transitions, at least in my own sense. So having that is really good. The only one thing that I would say about it is that it starts at a half. The loop roll starts at a half. It doesn't start at 1, which is kind of disappointing. I would prefer it to start at 1, but it's just a different way of thinking, and I think I'm not really that concerned about it in the end. I think it'll be fine. It does have, the other thing that this thing does have is actually you can control the pitch of the track right from within the system. So I've turned off both pitch and time and any kind of master tempo, just to show you what this does, and you can see it on the screen as well. Oh, that's the gain, sorry. I was needing to push the shift button to get the pitch. So you can see that it can adjust the pitch. Now the resolution on the pitch knob is actually pretty wide. The biggest, or the smallest change I seem to be able to affect is only about 0.3% in either direction. Could be worse. I come from the school of only being able to adjust it by 1% in any real measurable distance, which was on an old Denon. But either way, you can adjust the pitch to something, and you even have the ability to do a pitch bend using the search button and the browse knob on the appropriate track. You can actually do a pitch bend. So as you can see, this little device, Akai has packed in an enormous amount of power into this thing, and I'm actually really stoked. I got my first gig with it tomorrow, and I'm really excited to play with it. So the obvious question is, why would you get something like this? It doesn't come with, the things that people use a lot in terms of, hot cues, all of that stuff. Hot cues and the slicer, all the big sort of Serato DJ functions aren't there. Well, not really on this thing, and if you buy, there's a company piece that goes along with this, and it's got, I think it's called the AFX, and it's got a lot more of those controls built into it. If you're like me and you own a Pioneer DDJ SP1, for example, you've got all that functionality built onto a separate control surface. And push comes to shove, you've still got the ability, as long as your computer's not too far away, your laptop's not too far away, I've still got the ability to set and call up hot cues just using the keyboard. You know, and there's nothing wrong with doing that if it comes down to it. So this is a bit of a departure from the standard sort of control surface, but it really, really fills a niche. And that's kind of the last thing I'm going to talk about is what does this thing do and why would I buy something like this? You know, my primary rig is that I actually travel with a pair of Technics 1200s and a DJM 900 SRT. That's my primary rig. I'm used to having the big control surfaces, and obviously this doesn't have you know, any kind of jog dial or anything on that. So why would I go with something like this? Well, it's really for very small shows. It's, you know, I can see this being a staple in a mobile DJ's world, because it's got the ability to do small sections of events. Even something like a ceremony would be excellent with this, because all you need is this, your speakers and your laptop. Or you could use this as a backup piece, which is going to find its way in a lot. It's going to find its way into a lot of guys' bags for that, because it's so small and light. And then finally, it is going to get used, I think, as a primary surface for gigs like the one that I'm doing tomorrow, which are very small events. Small events where I'm not anticipating needing a lot of the fancy DJ tricks, and to be honest with you, carrying even something as large as a DJ SZ or a DJ SX or SX2 or some derivative thereof is way overkill for the show. Tomorrow's show, I'm anticipating I've got 2 hours of dinner music to play and then 2 hours of sort of cocktail style music, and then I'm done. That's the whole gig. So I can really see this fitting in, and I was really excited to get this thing for that gig. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy with the way this thing feels. I'm really happy with the way that it seems to be going for me so far. Tomorrow night's going to be a real test on it. It is a bit of a departure, as I mentioned, from some of the ways that you have to do things. I mean, you got to use 2 different buttons for pitch control, and if you're not careful, you end up obviously adjusting the gain like I did unintentionally. But that aside, it really works. It really works really, really well, you know, with the few limitations that it's got. I'm really happy. I think this is going to be a fantastic piece. I'm looking forward to using it. Thanks very much for watching. I'm DJ Ryan J. Have a good evening.